Technicalities. One moment. There we go. Good afternoon, everyone. Welcome to another episode of Spilling Tea. I'm your host, Tiffany Daniels, and of course, happy Saturday, everyone. You know what that means? That means we are going back to our Medicaid series. We are actually running off of the last video that we did. What you're seeing there, instead of the Arc of the United States, is the Arc of the Ozarks, which is actually out here. That is the one I have been affiliated with for multiple years. I've worked with them multiple times. I have acted as a consultant on a few different things as well for them. I've gone to many of the different events that they have held at the ARC building numerous times. Like, it's the weekend. I know. Let's send the single girl that has literally no social life due to choice, and we are just gonna make her go to this event to represent the regional office. No pressure, though. Enjoy your weekend. When the weekend back then was literally the only days I had off, mind you. Granted, I got double time, but still. Anyways, not the point. Not the point. But they're the ones that I have worked with for multiple years. I trust these folks. I trust the leaders. I know the organization. I know quite a few of the individuals that work as direct care support, among other things. So we're going to use it as a way to give you a bird's eye view in regards to how Medicaid actually works by means for paying for the services that service providers like the ARC provide to those of us who are in community-based services. So, without further ado, brief disclaimer. Everything that we are going through in regards to the Medicaid series, every little bit of source information can be found right there in the description box for you, including what we're going to be going after this afternoon. So should you like the deep dive on this particular subject, so we can go ahead and correct the GOP in regards to all the things they don't know about Medicaid funding, you're absolutely more than welcome to do so. Political trigger warning. If you are extreme left or extreme right, I am not. I am not affiliated with any party, and I probably never will be. I base my voting on an individual basis. What are your policies? To get more specific, what are your policies in regards to safeguarding what few rights us disabled folk have? Are you an individual that is looking to gut the Department of Mental Health anytime soon? That is a major concern for me and a lot of the people out here. And I got to say, with the Medicaid cuts, once they decide to get enacted and we start seeing the effects of it, you get my point. So with that being said, more than likely through this series or one of the others, I'm more than likely going to say something that's probably going to offend you. If you are unable to handle that like an adult and immediately go and opt for name calling, such as the absolutely uninspired Trump derangement syndrome, because apparently you just don't try hard enough on the right to come up with some at least decently creative insults, I will remove your comment and block you from the channel because nobody has time for that high school nonsense. There is a reason my happy ass actually has a pseudo-autistic bubble of nope that is my home. Just saying, alright? Other trigger warnings. This channel is marked not for kids for a reason. I do indeed use profanity And some of the topics we cover, such as the Judge Rotenberg Educational Center, are pretty dark. So if you got a child that is 16 and younger and they are watching this channel, parental supervision is very much advised. So this is the ARC page for my community, and we're going to be taking a look at the services. So remember when I told you guys last week how it works, right? First, you get your diagnosis. Then you get referred to get a full functional behavioral assessment done. Mine was actually done with my circle of support already half built around me. After you get that done, you take that and the diagnosis to one of the many regional offices throughout the United States, usually as a part of your state's Department of Mental Health or whatever your state's equivalence to that happens to be. If they determine that you are eligible for services, that means that the state is going to use that Medicaid funding allotted to them not just to cover their own case manager salaries, but to also cover for the services received from places like ARC. So we're going to get into what those services are. And coming up next week, we're going to be going over what each of those services would cost out of pocket, just to give you guys an understanding of what we are looking to lose here pretty quickly. So, we're going to start here with community living. So, we're going to click on this here. So, we are going to scroll down here. Find your community with the ARC. The ARC of the Ozarks Community Living Services provide personalized support to help with individuals live and work within the community while developing skills to manage daily life and achieve personal goals. Our goals for individuals who receive community services are: support individuals to be as independent as possible while tailoring to their specific needs. So, maybe this might require that you need a direct care staff in case you need assistance with things such as being able to cook, clean, be able to bathe yourself, and get yourself in and out of places. Having a direct care support to cover that sort of area where you have needs makes you a little bit less dependent on, say, for example, family members or really anyone, because a lot of these folks who get into services, they may be older or they may have lost family members. You get what I'm saying there, right? Good. Create a life that reflects their personal goals and desires. So ARC really focuses on what I like to call not so much independent as interdependent living. What that means is they really focus on helping to build links out there for us in our own communities. Okay, kind of like almost like having safe people you can go to if there's something that's kind of not up to snuff, so to speak. It also means that it provides help, counseling, even vocational counseling, vocational training. In fact, that was how I was able to knock out my associate's degree before actually graduating high school, was because of programs like what the ARC provides. But we'll get to those services here in a moment, but that's what it's talking about here. Whether your work goals have to do with going out into the workforce immediately, whether you want to be talking to them to maybe get some counseling about going into secondary education, or maybe you need a lot of help with life skills. I hate to bust a lot of people's bubbles, but there are a lot of disabled kids that, because they were given a label pretty early in life, God, this is going to sound horrible. I'm not condemning anyone. I'm really not. But we're talking about kids that haven't really. Let's put it this way. maybe the parents weren't as hard in regards to chores or grades or house upkeep, quite the same way that it was demanded out of me and my siblings. I'm not saying that to be cruel. It's actually a systemic issue that starts with the doctor's office. A lot of us, when we got our diagnosis, had the doctor literally sit the individual down who brought us to said doctor and provide for them a list of stuff that they are absolutely insistent that we'll never be able to do. Okay? Like, that's the level, the lack of understanding that we still have lingering inside the care system that's supposed to help us be able to live more independent lives. A person, disabled or not, will rise to the height that you put out for them. That's what I have noticed. The bar for me was set high. I had the exact same expectations as all my other non-disabled siblings had to meet. I had to get good grades. Not only did I have to clean and do chores, but if I were to, in my mom's old words, half-ass it, there would be hell to pay. And I do mean hell. I was expected to hold up with my responsibilities regardless of whether I was disabled or not, which meant also along with them I was learning how to more get into full cooking by the age of 10. I was starting to be taught on how to manage things such as cooking healthy, probably about around 12 to 13, right as my mom was getting into the health kick for the first time. A lot of people don't necessarily have that, disabled people especially. So when they're talking about personal goals and desires there, that is a part of it too. So what we have is community integrators, or CIs. And they are there to help us fill in the gaps with things such as cleaning, balancing checkbooks, proper cooking, making sure you're taking care of yourself, making sure you have things organized for your medical care, all of that good stuff. And focus on community integration, of course, in which case the CIs play a big part of that, especially with us autistic folks. Like, my CI made it a part of our overall goals, which she would visit each week to make me go out in the community, because otherwise, yeah. I've never been really accepted by the wide world. I've always known it, and I would rather not bother, and I prefer not to be stared at as some bizarre science experiment that's about to go horrifically wrong at any second every time I step outside my door and do something anywhere where someone might recognize me. But you get what I'm saying. Alright. Next part, employment services. So we're going to click on this real quick. And if you notice here, each of the different areas may have slightly tweaked different services out here in the state, just because, to be honest, Monette and Joplin are big. The rural areas surrounding them are not. So a lot of folks have to tweak in regards to community services based on what's available in the different areas of that part of the state. So we're going to go with my local one here. Okay, so we're going to go through each of these, okay? So this is career planning / vocational rehabilitation discovery and exploration. Now, this is a particular program that I went through myself. I actually started beginning of junior year of high school in this particular program, and what I've described for you on the job programs is a part of what all that is, but let ARC speak for itself. Okay. Once individuals are referred to the program, they will begin working with an employment specialist to build a career plan. Planning activities, individuals are referred to the program, usually by the state. They will work with an employment specialist to build a career plan. So, what are your goals? Where would you like to be employed at? Now, that being said, for several years, there really was a primary focus on either getting us into fast food or janitorial positions, such as at schools or in hospitals. Since then, things have thankfully expanded into other professional areas. But back when I was in the program, that was something that I bucked heads with my employment specialist with constantly, especially after my legs began to spasm starting about around the age of 20 to 21, and I just flat out refused any fast food and had an argument to explain the multiple factors why that would not be such great employment for an autistic person who has spasms in their legs to be on their feet for 8, 6, or even 4 hours. Yeah. Excruciatingly painful doesn't begin to really discuss it. I can get up, walk around, I can exercise, but standing still for long periods of time is incredibly excruciating. Job development. Once individuals are referred to job development, they will work with an employment specialist and job coach to start the job search process. Now, the employment specialist and the job coach are not always the same person. In my case, they were, which made things much easier for me. So, what they assist and help you with is resume creation. I've actually done several different workshops on resume creation before, and I may pull one out of the cloud from my state dates to get on the channel. Sorry, it just popped out of my head, and I have no filter. Let me get back to the topic at hand. Filling out and submitting job applications, practicing interview skills. So, literal interview classes where they will have you sit there and practice interviews pretending that they are the employer. They will ask you questions that a majority of most employers are going to ask you during an interview. It's pretty decent prep if you're first entering into the job market, into the workforce. Definitely very useful, especially if you're autistic, because people tend to not hire folks that don't look people in the eyes. And one of the job specialists that taught me to look right here instead has saved my bacon and has continued to save my bacon every time I go out and speak, or every time I ride along, we go out to the Jefferson City and plague our local politicians, and that sort of thing. Following up employment leads and so much more. All right, job coaching. Individuals who obtain employment in the community will receive initial job coaching. A job coach will go on site with individual to assist them with learning the rules and the responsibilities of the job. So making sure you know exactly what your role is, what you're going to be doing there. Help develop natural support for the individual to make the fading out process more streamlined. They like to operate a lot on the buddy system, like having there an especially helpful coworker to help you learn the ropes was something that they did with me quite often. Once the individual and business feel comfortable and confident, the job coach will then fade out completely. I never had a job coach with me longer than about a week. Some people go a little bit longer. I don't know. I'm a fast learner. Equipping individuals with disabilities for employment. For people with the goal of achieving community employment but who may need additional services to work on the job readiness skills, we offer pre-vocational services. These services assist people with developing general, non-job specific skills that contribute to their goals of achieving competitive integrated employment. These skills are also known as soft skills or employability skills and can assist individuals in making reasonable and continued progress towards their vocational goals. So, what that can look like, for example, is they may get you a gig volunteering at the hospital. Like they used to call them candy stripers back in the day, the individuals who would like help run and operate the gift shops. They might be individuals that are helping to serve you coffee from the coffee store inside the hospital. Yes, we have one. There's literally a Starbucks inside our Mercy hospital here. We've kind of gotten elitist in the last couple of decades. They have them also work a lot in the food service, in the cafeteria for Mercy and Cox especially. They get quite a few people in there to volunteer and learn money handling skills, cleaning skills, interacting with people skills, things that might be helpful later on in obtaining a job when you are fresh out on the job market and most people are literally